you're in the ladies' room and then you realize somebody else is in there doesn't have has a male body instead of a female's body. I mean, it just causes some issues there.
No, you should let people go to the bathroom.
Well, they probably don't realize.
Yeah, exactly.
That's because you have such long hair and that's been. Are you going to go through the procedure?
What you just saw right there was Republican Senator Elaine Gannon of Missouri asking obviously very medically invasive questions to a trans teen named Avery Jackson. Avery, by the way, said that this was the first time a random grown-up, not a doctor, not a medical professional, had asked them that kind of question. Their mom, Debi, added that what the video didn't show was her squeezing Avery's hand in that moment, quote, almost in an attempt to have myself not jump up. And although we should acknowledge that I think it's impossible to come up with a context where some random Republican state senator is asking unprompted questions like that of a teen. The conversation wasn't about bathrooms or anything like that. That's just something that apparently Elaine Gannon is curious about and just wants to make a public spectacle over. The hearing where you just saw Avery speaking was about transgender kids being able to play on sports teams that align with their gender. But again, these Republicans are perverse. They're insane when it comes to this topic. And so getting an opportunity to talk to a trans team and ask these questions to try to throw them off, try to embarrass them, God only knows what, Elaine Gannon isn't gonna miss the opportunity for that. Now I wanna give you at least a little bit of the response from Avery and their mom, Debi. Here's what they had to say about the interaction.
You think we're going around forcing our genitalia in people's face. We're trying to go to the bathroom, and what you wanna do is not let people do that? Your whole argument here is the fact that you don't want people to use a bathroom is no one, yes, no one is looking at what Kennedy.
I was seriously just curious.
On public record about genitals, and if people would see that, how would anyone know? We have been coming for 7 years trying to help people understand, and I know this is off topic and it didn't make anything by it, but that's the point. Kids aren't going around exposing themselves. Kids are wanting to play sports with their friends. That's what this bill is. And getting wrapped up in genitals in bathrooms gets us so far away from that, and it dehumanizes our children. My child is so much more than genitals, and that's what I need you to see.
I love everything that Debi had to say there. This is about the life of kids like Avery. But for the state senator, I'm just curious. It's just a thing. I could just ask these questions. It doesn't mean anything to me. I don't care. It's your life. For me, it's a political weapon. It's something to get my base fired up. If I get them to hate and fear people like you enough, then maybe we can stay in power and we can continue to profit. It makes me sick. And I can only imagine for people like Avery or for people like Debi having to continually go through with this, just trying to have a member of their family get to live their life.
Yeah, so nothing says individual liberty in small government like a government official asking about your genitalia.
Yeah.
I mean, they say it with a straight face, right? Like, oh, we're for small government, and let me see your Johnson or whatever you got going on, okay? I wanna know all about it, I wanna hear the details. What do you do with it in the bathroom? Oh, you're 14, who cares? Tell me more, show me more, right? What part of that is small government? What part of that is individual liberty? Republicans, they have a rebuttable presumption. You meet a Republican, maybe he can convince you that he's not a liar, but their ideology is nothing but lies. They never meant small government, they never meant freedom. They meant I oppress you, and that's how this thing works. Okay, so, and the absurdity of this topic is endless. So they say, well, if you look male, but they think you're actually female because of how you were born, and you walk into a female, you should walk into a female bathroom because you were born a female, walk into a female. And if you did, and you look like a male, what would they do? They'd flip out. They'd go nuts. They'd be like, what's a guy doing in the girls' bathroom? Well, you told me to come in here, okay? I wanted to go into the guys' bathroom because I am a guy, But you said, no, you were born a girl, so you have to go to the girls' bathroom. So I'm in the girls' bathroom. How dare you come in here? You look like a guy. You know that's what they would do. You know that's what they would do, okay? So it's absurd in every way. And then finally, she said, how would anyone know? That's such a good point. I can't believe I haven't made that point in all these years. So thank you. What are you Republicans doing? Are you looking at us when we're in the bathroom? All of us? Oh, what genitalia do they have? Are you sneaking in a peek at the urinals? You perverts? Are you busting into people's stalls? Why do you care what they're doing in private? What genitalia do you have? I really want to see your genitalia. That's how Republicans are. Small government, my ass. You guys are up in our business. You're trying to find out about our genitalia. Leave us alone, you perverts. We actually believe in freedom and individual liberty.
You know, I'm sorry, Jake. So I know it's not funny, but it's funny. I agree with you. First of all, I cringe at the thought of thinking about anybody's genitalia while I'm in any bathroom. Secondly, as a mom to a daughter and a son, I can tell you, which I've taken both of my children to the bathroom when they were younger. I have never really heard of anybody being assaulted by a trans human in a bathroom, but I have heard people being assaulted by a heterosexual male in the bathroom, or cisgender male. So I just think that is so fascinating. I have many trans friends, and I will tell you, the people who are DMing them, the people who are creeping into their DMs on Twitter and Instagram, who are fascinated with them, and many of them who want to get down with them are cisgender people who are supposedly heterosexual and anti-trans. So I just think it's so interesting why that, first of all, they were talking about sports and courtroom Karen made it about bathrooms and her fascination because sorry, I got angry. I just think that when you do stuff to the kids, you talk to her mom, talk to their mom. Don't address the children. And I've always had that as a rule with my own kids. Don't you dare take issue with my children, their children. You take that issue up with me. Yeah. That was totally inappropriate. I am burning up as a mom because I would have let her have it. How dare you? Yeah. How dare you?
You're totally right. Obviously, of the sorts of people that do these assaults, but in particular, one of the things that makes this constant debate that they keep coming back to about bathrooms, like Glenn Youngkin tried to make that like half of his run for governor, that and making it so that you can't talk about slavery or whatever. What makes it even more perverse is if a trans person goes into a bathroom, of all of the danger that exists, virtually every bit of it is felt and experienced by that trans person. Because as you're right, there's no epidemic of trans people assaulting anyone in bathrooms. But there is an ongoing epidemic that nobody almost even acknowledges, let alone does anything about, of trans individuals being hunted down and harassed and assaulted and murdered. And so to take this particular thing is just so purposefully sick and also exploitative. Like there are definitely regular conservatives that are incredibly ignorant of the trans community and obsessed and hateful and fearful of the trans community. I don't doubt that at all. But for the elite class of Republicans, the politicians, they are just using this to maintain their position of power, to stop regulations that might cost them some money. They don't care at all about this. They're not losing sleep over what happens in bathrooms, but they do believe that their base is hateful enough and ignorant enough to be convinced to think about politics exclusively through that lens.
I want to give let one of our members have a comment here. We'd love to do the show with you guys. tyt.com/join to become a member, be part of the show. Dragon with a girl tattoo wrote in, being curious about a 14-year-old's genitals can land you in prison.
Yeah.
So QAnon, where are you at? Where are you at? I mean, there's a Republican senator, elite, powerful Republican senator who's asking about a young child's genitals. I assume you guys are enraged, right? Finally, you got him. You got someone in power who's interested in children's genitals.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not gonna do anything, right? Because of course, everyone in the right wing is full of crap. They don't mean a word they say. The whole thing is an excuse and a facade for hatred. Fear and hatred, that's the Republican Party, period. Oh, sorry, also greed. Okay, and finally, I'll tell you a personal anecdote. I actually did have a creepy situation once in a bathroom. It was a public bathroom in New York. I think it was Grand Central Station. And I was in a stall, and I'm like, there's something weird. There's something wrong. It's like I had this instinct, but I couldn't tell what it was. And then I looked up, and some creepy dude was looking into the stall. He had stood on the toilet of the other stall and was looking down at me like this. I mean, that is the creepiest thing you'll ever see, right? That right there, that picture in my mind, that's the Republican Party. They're creeping into our stalls like, what are you doing? What's your, I want to invade your personal life. You should do what I tell you, not what you want. I hate your individual liberty. Show me your genitals. That's the perverts that are the Republican Party.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.